food insecurity. And finally, we're affirming our region-wide approach to sharing responsibility for managing the challenges of unprecedented migration flows. With the Los Angeles Declaration on Migration and Protection, we committed to work together to address the historic levels of migration impacting all.
You may not know right.
Folks, we got 10 news about the fourth stimulus check, Social Security news, SSI, and SSDI. Continue watching this video because you definitely don't want to miss out on this important stimulus check information. Action is being taken right now. Governor McCarthy has just confirmed that a debt ceiling vote will likely happen on Tuesday, and this could save millions of Americans from huge financial changes from the federal government. Today, Kevin McCarthy announced that Congress will meet the deadline to raise the debt ceiling, acknowledging that no deal has been made by voting an agreement will be reached in time to prevent a government default. Janet Yellen raised the stakes in the marathon negotiations on Friday, when she provided the first hard deadline for when the government will be unable to pay down all of its obligations. June 5th, everybody, is a date. And asked if Congress can meet the deadline, McCarthy didn't hesitate to say yes. McCarthy vowed that he'll stick with the 72-hour rule, providing lawmakers the full 3 days to read the text of the legislation before they're asked to vote on it. McCarthy even said he's been in talks with Senate leaders about how much time they'll need to meet the June 5 deadline. And if a deal is reached tomorrow, that would set the stage for a House vote on Tuesday. McCarthy declined to name the barriers that remain as he and his deputies haggle with the White House negotiators over the last outstanding disagreements. But he said Republicans have not dropped the demand for permitting reform designed to eliminate regulatory hurdles to energy infrastructure projects. It's something Democrats have opposed for fear that it would degrade the environment at the expense of poor communities. McCarthy also confirmed that Republicans have been in discussions with Carson Sinema and moderate Democrats on particular issues. The speaker outlined the rollout of any deal and saying he would make a vague announcement that would withhold the details of any agreement to allow lawmakers to read the bill before the press and public do. Still, people all over the nation are now wondering what will happen to lawmakers if their personal finances are not met. Based on Social Security Administration payment schedules, a June 5 default might actually protect beneficiaries from the potential delayed checks and direct deposits, because individuals receiving the payments are still going to receive the money, but maybe in a later date. If the Treasury Department is unable to successfully prioritize payments for Social Security, the consequences for these groups can be devastating. Beyond the initial group of payees, the Social Security Administration monthly payment calendar suggests that there is a bit more breathing room for other beneficiaries, providing that lawmakers reach a deal beforehand and the next beneficiary payments are not expected until June 14th. So, the debt default picture is also cloudy for individuals who rely on Medicare and Medicaid to pay for bills. But the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services said that these government health programs are defaulting on the national debt and would severely damage the crucial health care programs that millions of Americans rely on. And since Yellen was the first on a debt default, she said it could happen within a few days of June. And the short-term U.S. borrowing costs have soared as investors demand greater return for the risk that they won't be paid on time.
Will not raise taxes on anyone making over.
It is happening. The inflation rate is expected to rise once again, everybody. And now the Federal Reserve is planning to take big action to address this major issue. With millions of people worried about with Congress stepping in for a little extra relief, people don't know if they're going to receive stimulus payments in 2023. But in this video, I'll explain to you the most important stimulus check information that you have to know. Because remember folks, if President Biden does send out the fourth stimulus check in time, many people will get the relief that they so desperately need. And that would definitely be a great thing. So I hope that President Biden can keep his promise to the American people and send out stimulus payments by 2024. Do you think he will? Tell me in the comments. Well, high inflation and the state of the economy remain at the top of the list of America's top concern. A new poll showed that at least 60% of respondents said they have a great deal about concern and inflation in the economy. The percentage increased by 2 points for both categories from a poll taken last year. The Fed is already raising its key interest rate by 0.25 percentage points, underscoring the central bank's commitment to fighting inflation, even if that heightens the financial pressure on the country's banks. Now, folks, listen to this. As recently as 2 weeks ago, the Fed appeared set for a steeper rate hike and prepared to keep them elevated for longer. But a startling deposit run at Silicon Valley Bank and a closure of 2 smaller banks and a takeover of 2 other banks has created this panic in the financial system. Many economists, as well as the Fed, noted the bank's newfound caution following the turmoil would likely drag on the economy. The high cost of living is causing financial headaches for millions of people. That is why many states and cities have approved new relief. There is a $5 million fund from which Americans could get much needed $500 stimulus checks. Everybody, listen up. It's important now. This is happening in the state of Missouri, specifically in St. Louis, and the checks are directed at families with low income. The mayor, who was one of the most people affected by this crisis, said that the people in the city and state have already a plan to send cash to hundreds of families, if not thousands, who are going through a tough time. The bill was presented and is calling for the state to spend $5 million in funds that are coming from the federal crisis stimulus package. They are urging the federal government to agree on sending $500 monthly payments to local families for the next year and a half. This idea is for this program to begin as soon as possible, and its approval will go.
Stayed within our means.
Diner Mike Smith says he could use but doesn't really need stimulus money.
I think seeing maybe, even like $2,000 per month or even more could be, I think, a good thing for some people.
But Bernice says, hold that order.
You got it.
A $2,000 menu item now could lead to a big bill later.
So you think you're going to pay for it later?
I feel like we are.
Yeah.
Nothing is free in this world.
Everybody, huge action is being taken right now by the top lawmakers in Congress. Stimulus payments are coming. Get ready for it. Up to $30,000 in relief can actually be claimed right now. Important details on the new stimulus package have been released. Inflation just continues to cause headaches for many homeowners, and here's what President Biden is saying about this. Since Americans receive multiple stimulus checks and funds during the crisis, homeowners are wondering if Congress will actually help more homeowners furthermore. The 30-year mortgage rate has actually reached a new high last week. It led to a greater stagnation in the housing market. The average rate for a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage increased to 7% for the week, ending October 27. It is actually the first time it reached this threshold since April 2002. As inflation endures, consumers are seeing higher costs at every turn, causing further dramatic declines in consumer confidence this month. In fact, everybody, many potential home buyers are choosing to wait and see where the housing market will end up, pushing demand and home prices further downward. But experts say that there is a current $1 billion in relief funds that Americans can claim right now. That is through President Biden's Rescue Act, and it's provided up to close to $1 billion, $10 billion to the states through the Homeowner Assistance Fund. Most states have implemented this system, and actually, most states have implemented programs to distribute the funds, and are generally an eligible recipient must make less than 100% of the median income for the entire country. In the state of Illinois, eligible homeowners will soon be able to receive up to $30,000 in relief through an assistance program administered by the Illinois Housing Department Development Authority. In a press release, the organization announced that its Illinois Homeowner Assistance Fund would resume at the beginning of the month. They've approved more than $20.5 million in checks for around 1,800 people through the fund, though the fund has been approved earlier this year. The program is funded through the American Rescue Plan, and the state was allocated around $400 million. Applicants have to be able to prove a financial hardship as a result of the crisis, and they also must own a home in the state as their primary residence and be at least 30 days